Imagine a small kingdom, oppressed by centuries of foreign domination, rising up in a revolution that would change the course of history forever. This is the story of the Lê Dynasty, a remarkable chapter in Vietnamese history that not only restored the nation's independence, but transformed it into a regional powerhouse. But how did they achieve such an extraordinary feat? And why does their legacy continue to resonate so powerfully today? In the early 15th century, Vietnam was under the iron grip of China's Ming dynasty. The Vietnamese people lived under strict foreign rule, their culture and traditions suppressed by their powerful northern neighbors. But everything changed in 1428, when a visionary leader emerged from the shadows. His name was Lê Dynasty, and he would become the founder of one of the most remarkable dynasties in Southeast Asian history. What makes this story truly fascinating is how Lê Dynasty, a local chieftain from Thanh Hoa province, managed to unite the Vietnamese people against seemingly impossible odds. The Ming dynasty was at the height of its power, with an army that vastly outnumbered the Vietnamese forces. Yet through brilliant strategy, unwavering determination, and the support of his people, Lê Dynasty led a rebellion that would not only drive out the invaders, but establish one of the most enduring and efficient dynasties in Vietnamese history. The Lê Dynasty didn't just restore independence. They ushered in an era of unprecedented growth and innovation. They implemented groundbreaking social reforms, established a sophisticated administrative system, and fostered cultural developments that would shape Vietnam's future for centuries to come. If you're passionate about history and want to uncover the mysteries of great empires, join us on this incredible journey through time. This is the story of how a small nation stood up against a mighty empire and emerged victorious, forever changing the course of Southeast Asian history. Don't miss a single moment of this epic tale. Like this video, subscribe to Modern Age Chronicles, and hit that notification bell to join us on more fascinating historical adventures. Let's dive into the remarkable story of the Lê Dynasty, a testament to the power of human resilience and the enduring spirit of independence. The story of Vietnam's independence begins with an extraordinary man named Lê Dynasty, a charismatic leader who would become a legendary figure in Vietnamese history. Born into a wealthy family in Thanh Hoa province, Lê Dynasty witnessed firsthand the struggles of his people under Ming dynasty rule. But what set him apart wasn't just his noble birth. It was his brilliant mind for strategy and his remarkable ability to unite people from all walks of life. What's truly fascinating about Lê Dynasty's rebellion is how he transformed ordinary farmers and villagers into a formidable fighting force. When he first began his resistance in 1418, he had just 2,000 followers, but his charismatic leadership and clever tactics soon attracted supporters from across the country. He would often train his soldiers in the dense Vietnamese jungles, using the terrain to his advantage against the much larger Ming army. Lê Dynasty pioneered what we now know as guerrilla warfare. His forces would strike quickly and disappear into the familiar landscape, wearing down the Ming troops through a series of carefully planned ambushes. He understood something crucial. He didn't need to match the Ming army in size. He needed to outsmart them. One of the most incredible stories from this period tells of how Lê Dynasty used the rainy season to his advantage. While the Ming troops struggled with their heavy armor and unfamiliar terrain, his soldiers moved swiftly through the muddy paths they had known since childhood. They would attack at night, during storms, or in the thick morning fog, leaving the Ming forces confused and demoralized. The culmination of this brilliant strategy came in 1427 at the Battle of Tot Dong, Dong Da. This wasn't just any battle. It was the decisive moment that would change Vietnamese history forever. Lê Dynasty's forces surrounded the Ming army in a devastating pincer movement, forcing their commander to retreat in humiliation. This victory marked the beginning of the end for Ming occupation in Vietnam. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Lê Dynasty's leadership was his vision for the future. He wasn't fighting just for independence, he was fighting for a new Vietnam. Once he became emperor, he implemented reforms that would benefit all Vietnamese people, not just the elite. He redistributed land to peasant farmers, reduced taxes, and began building the administrative foundation that would make the Lê Dynasty one of the most efficient governments in Southeast Asian history. An interesting detail often overlooked is that Lê Loi carried a legendary sword called the Heaven's Will. According to folklore, this sword was given to him by a golden turtle in Hoan Kiem Lake. After his victory, the turtle supposedly reclaimed the sword, giving birth to one of Vietnam's most beloved legends and lending the lake its name, which means Lake of the Returned Sword. This combination of military genius, political wisdom, and inspiring leadership made Lê Loi more than just a successful rebel leader. It made him the founder of a dynasty that would shape Vietnam for the next 3.5 centuries. His story reminds us that sometimes the greatest changes in history come not from the largest armies, but from the most determined hearts. While military victories might win kingdoms, it's efficient administration that helps maintain them. The Lê Dynasty understood this fundamental truth better than most, and their sophisticated system of governance became the secret to their remarkable longevity, lasting over 3 centuries. What made the Lê Dynasty truly exceptional was their innovative approach to administration. They created something revolutionary for their time, a merit-based system of government. Imagine a world where your abilities, not your family name, determined your position in society. This was unprecedented in 15th century Southeast Asia, where most positions of power were inherited through family connections. At the heart of their administrative brilliance was the Hong Duc Code, created during the reign of Emperor Lê Thánh Tông. This wasn't just another dusty legal document. It was a groundbreaking set of laws that would put many modern legal systems to shame. What makes this even more remarkable is that it was written in 1483, when much of Europe was still in the grip of feudal law. Here's something fascinating. The Hong Duc Code included provisions that were centuries ahead of their time. For instance, it established a clear system of land ownership and property rights. Farmers could officially own their land, something that gave them a stake in the kingdom's prosperity. The code also set up a sophisticated tax system that was both fair and efficient, helping to fill the royal treasury while preventing excessive burden on the common people. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Lê Dynasty administration was their examination system. Picture this. Scholars from all across Vietnam, regardless of their background, gathering in the capital to take rigorous tests that could change their lives forever. These examinations tested knowledge of literature, philosophy, and administrative skills. Those who passed could rise to become high-ranking officials, creating a class of educated bureaucrats who helped run the kingdom efficiently. The Lê Dynasty also introduced an innovative system of local governance. They divided the country into provinces, each with its own administrative center, but all answering to the central government. This balance between local autonomy and central control was masterful. It allowed for efficient management while preventing any region from becoming too powerful and threatening the dynasty's rule. One of the most interesting stories from this period involves how they handled justice. Unlike many contemporary systems, the Lê Dynasty created a 3-tiered court system, with local courts, regional courts, and a supreme court in the capital. This meant that even common people had the right to appeal decisions they felt were unjust, a remarkably modern concept for the time. This combination of fair laws, merit-based advancement, and efficient administration created a stability that allowed Vietnamese culture and commerce to flourish. The Lê Dynasty proved that true power lies not just in military might, but in creating a system where people at all levels of society can prosper and contribute to the nation's success. The Lê Dynasty didn't just transform Vietnam's political landscape, they sparked a remarkable cultural renaissance that would define Vietnamese identity for centuries to come. Think of it as Vietnam's own Renaissance period, where art, literature, and education flourished in ways never seen before. One of the most fascinating aspects of their cultural revolution was how they balanced tradition with innovation. While they embraced Confucianism as their official philosophy, they did something truly remarkable. They preserved and celebrated local Vietnamese traditions. This wasn't just about keeping the peace, it was about creating something entirely new, a unique Vietnamese identity that combined the best of both worlds. Let me tell you about something truly revolutionary for its time. The Lê Dynasty established a network of schools and universities across the country. But here's the incredible part. These weren't just for the elite. They created opportunities for people from all walks of life to receive an education. Imagine being a farmer's son in the 15th century and suddenly having the chance to become a scholar. The dynasty's support of the Vietnamese language was particularly groundbreaking. While Chinese had long been the language of government and scholarship, the Lê Dynasty actively promoted the use of Vietnamese. They encouraged writers to create literature in their native tongue, helping to preserve and develop a distinct Vietnamese literary tradition. The physical landscape of Vietnam was transformed during this period too. Beautiful temples and pagodas sprang up across the country, many of which still stand today. These weren't just places of worship, they were centers of learning and culture where scholars would gather to discuss philosophy, literature, and art. Here's something that might surprise you. The Lê Dynasty was remarkably progressive when it came to women's rights. The Hongdu Code, their legal masterpiece, included provisions protecting women's property rights and even their right to inherit land. This was absolutely unheard of in most parts of the world during the 15th century. In fact, speaking of progressive reforms, would you believe that women under the Lê Dynasty had the right to conduct business independently and could even initiate divorce proceedings? These rights wouldn't be granted to women in many Western countries until centuries later. Did you know about these incredible reforms of the Lê Dynasty? If you're enjoying learning about this fascinating period of history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Modern Age Chronicles for more amazing historical stories. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about these progressive reforms from the Lê Dynasty? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The cultural renaissance under the Lê Dynasty wasn't just about preserving the past, it was about building a future where Vietnamese culture could stand proudly on its own while embracing influences from beyond its borders. This unique approach created a cultural legacy that continues to influence Vietnam to this day. But not every chapter in the Lê Dynasty story was filled with triumph and progress. Like any great empire, they faced their share of storms, and some of these challenges nearly brought the dynasty to its knees. Yet, their ability to weather these crises speaks volumes about the resilience of their system and their people. One of the most dramatic episodes in their history was the Lamac Civil War, a conflict that would tear the country apart for nearly half a century. Imagine Vietnam in the early 16th century. A powerful noble named Mac Dang Dung, once a trusted military commander, gradually accumulated so much power that he eventually seized the throne for himself in 1527. This wasn't just another political coup. It sparked a civil war that would divide Vietnam between North and South. What makes this period particularly fascinating is how the Lê Dynasty managed to survive despite losing control of their capital. They retreated to the south, where they established a government in exile, supported by the powerful Trinh and Nguyen lords. This created an unusual situation where Vietnam essentially had two ruling houses, the Mac in the north and the Lê in the south. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even when the Lê Dynasty technically regained power in 1592, they faced a new challenge. They became puppet rulers, with real power resting in the hands of the Trinh lords in the north and the Nguyen lords in the south. It was like being a king in name only, having the crown but not the power. The dynasty also faced external threats that would have toppled lesser kingdoms. The rising power of the Tay-Sun rebellion in the late 18th century posed a particular challenge. This peasant uprising, led by three brothers, would eventually contribute to the dynasty's final downfall in 1789. Yet, the fact that the Lê Dynasty had managed to maintain their position for over 3 centuries, despite such formidable challenges, is a testament to the strength of the institutions they built. Here's a fascinating detail often overlooked. During these turbulent times, the Lê Dynasty maintained their legitimacy in the eyes of many Vietnamese people through their connection to the mandate of heaven. The traditional East Asian belief that heaven grants the right to rule to virtuous leaders. Even when their actual power was limited, this spiritual authority helped them maintain their position as figureheads. One of the most remarkable aspects of this period was how the Vietnamese people adapted to these political divisions. Local communities often had to navigate complex relationships with multiple power centers, developing sophisticated diplomatic skills that would serve them well in future centuries. Through all these challenges, civil wars, rebellions, foreign invasions, and political intrigue, the Lê Dynasty showed an extraordinary ability to adapt and survive. While they may not have always held absolute power, their ability to maintain their position for over 300 years, even if sometimes only nominally, speaks to the enduring strength of the institutions and traditions they established. The legacy of the Lê Dynasty isn't just confined to history books, it's still very much alive in modern Vietnam. Walk through the streets of Hanoi today, and you'll find traces of their influence everywhere, from the architecture of ancient temples to the very principles that guide Vietnamese society. Let me share something remarkable. The story of Lê Loi's victory over foreign invaders continues to inspire Vietnamese people today. The Hoan Kiem Lake, right in the heart of Hanoi, serves as a daily reminder of this legacy. Every morning, you'll find people gathering around this lake, where legend says Lê Loi returned his magical sword to the golden turtle. It's not just a tourist attraction, it's a symbol of Vietnamese independence and determination. The Lê Dynasty's influence on Vietnamese education is particularly fascinating. The Temple of Literature in Hanoi, Vietnam's first university established during the Lê period, still stands as a testament to their commitment to learning. Even today, Vietnamese families place an enormous value on education, a cultural trait that can be traced back to the Lê Dynasty's merit-based system. Here's something that might surprise you. Many of the legal principles established by the Hong Duc Code continue to influence Vietnamese law today. The code's progressive stance on women's rights, property ownership, and family law helped shape modern Vietnamese society's relatively egalitarian gender relations. In fact, Vietnam today has one of the highest rates of women in the workforce in Southeast Asia, a tradition that can be traced back to the Lê Dynasty's forward-thinking policies. The administrative systems they put in place have left an equally lasting impact. The way Vietnam organizes its provinces and local governments still reflects some of the organizational principles established during the Lê period. Their emphasis on having an educated bureaucracy continues to influence Vietnam's approach to government service. But perhaps their most enduring legacy is something less tangible: the sense of national identity they helped create. By blending Confucian principles with Vietnamese traditions, they created a unique cultural foundation that has helped Vietnam maintain its distinct identity through centuries of change and challenges. When you see how modern Vietnam balances tradition with progress, you're witnessing the continuation of a pattern established by the Lê Dynasty. The dynasty's architectural legacy also lives on. Many of the temples and monuments built during their reign still stand today, not just as tourist attractions, but as living centers of culture and tradition. The one-pillar pagoda in Hanoi, restored during the Lê Dynasty, remains one of Vietnam's most iconic symbols. Even in times of hardship, the Vietnamese people often look back to the Lê Dynasty for inspiration. The way Le Loi united the country against foreign invasion has become a powerful national narrative, reminding people that unity and determination can overcome seemingly impossible odds. The Lê Dynasty's story teaches us something profound. True legacy isn't just about maintaining power. It's about creating institutions and values that continue to serve and inspire people long after the dynasty itself has passed into history. In modern Vietnam, their influence lives on, not just in monuments and institutions, but in the very spirit of the nation they helped forge. As we conclude our journey through the remarkable story of the Lê Dynasty, we can't help but be amazed by how their influence continues to shape Vietnam today. This wasn't just a dynasty that won independence. They created something far more lasting, a blueprint for a nation that would stand the test of time. Think about what they achieved. They transformed a nation under foreign occupation into a regional powerhouse, created one of the most progressive legal systems of their time, and built institutions that would serve their people for centuries. The Lê Dynasty showed us that true power isn't just about military might, it's about building systems and values that improve people's lives. Their story teaches us valuable lessons that remain relevant today. When Le Loi united his people against overwhelming odds, he showed us the power of leadership and determination. When the dynasty established their merit-based system, they proved that societies thrive when they give opportunities to all their people, not just the privileged few. And when they balanced tradition with innovation, they demonstrated how nations can progress while staying true to their cultural roots. Perhaps the most inspiring aspect of the Lê Dynasty's legacy is how it shows us that lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It took generations of careful planning, bold reforms, and unwavering commitment to build the foundations that would shape Vietnam's future. In a world where we often seek quick solutions, their story reminds us that the most meaningful transformations require patience, vision, and dedication. So what can we learn from this extraordinary chapter in history? How can the wisdom of the Lê Dynasty help us understand our own challenges and opportunities? These are questions worth pondering as we face our own modern-day challenges. If you've enjoyed exploring this fascinating period of history with us, please take a moment to like this video and share it with others who might be interested in this remarkable story. Don't forget to subscribe to Modern Age Chronicles and hit that notification bell to join us on more incredible historical journeys. Your support helps us continue bringing these amazing stories from history to life. What aspects of the Lê Dynasty's story resonated most with you? What lessons do you think we can apply to our world today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this incredible chapter of history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll explore another fascinating story from the pages of history. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring the amazing stories that shaped our world. See you in our next historical adventure.